Ms. Kendall, of course, hydraulic fracturing has been going for 60-plus years now. I mean, we have a long, long record. And the Department of Interior, in fact, Secretary Salazar himself sat here in this room and said, in answer to my questions, has there ever been a human killed or seriously injured or made ill from hydraulic fracturing? His answer was no. Do you disagree with that?
It's a complex question to answer.
Just yes or no is all I have time for.
I'm sorry, I can't answer yes or no.
Okay.
We don't have the information.
Maybe you'll answer this question. He also said that there's no documented case of groundwater ever being contaminated from hydraulic fracturing. Do you agree with that?
You know, I think often when those claims are made, they're parsing words. What we would like to see is baseline tests and ongoing water testing.
Ma'am, it doesn't matter what you'd like to see.
Right.
Do you agree or disagree? That's the only question here today.
It's not a simple answer.
I'll take that as non-responsive. You said a moment ago that, which really gives me a migraine headache, you said, we've never proven that someone has never been injured as a result, or groundwater has never been contaminated, I think you said in one instance. That's a very difficult burden.
Sure.
I can't prove that a pig never flew to Mars, but I highly suspect that it never has happened. So I would say to you that's an unrealistic burden. So here's my question. In this country, we have thousands of people each year who die as a result of accidents, automobile accidents, even oddball accidents like falling off counters and so forth at home. We have thousands of people who die of drug overdoses, and we've never had one single documented case of groundwater contamination or someone killed or seriously injured. We also have state regulators, like in my state of Louisiana, who do a great job. And you're suggesting that we should hire up all of these people now that should begin a whole new layer of regulation that didn't exist before. And I would just ask you, do you really think we have the money and the resources to do that? Because remember that we're at over $1 trillion a year in deficit spending. And in addition to that, we're under sequestration. So how do you justify wanting to go to all of that additional expense, not only on the government side, but also on the company side, to do something that's already been done and there's no demonstrated need?
Congressman, we know of wells that have been fractured where there is water contamination nearby. The people who rely on that water for drinking water, for agriculture,
you have documented this?
Yes, there are documented instances of water contamination.
So you disagree with Secretary Salazar?
I did not specifically say that that contamination was caused by the act of hydraulic fracturing, and I think that's where we run into differences. That is very hard to prove after the fact. Last year, I went to a hearing in the House Science Committee on the contamination that has occurred in Pavilion, Wyoming. And several of the witnesses, agency witnesses and scientists at that hearing...
I'm short on time, but let me ask you this. Has there been ongoing research or studies to prove or disprove that that occurs?
There have been some studies. What we are saying is that we need baseline tests and ongoing tests if we want, and that information needs to be publicly available if we want to prove or disprove.
I'm sorry, it's my time. Let me suggest that we do the test first before we create all of these giant regulations, these costly regulations that are going to be oppressive. And I'll say to the panel, and I'd love to have your response in talking to drillers back home, they tell me that it takes about 3 days for them to get a private permit. It takes them approximately a year to get one on public lands, and it's far more expensive. And this is before we've ever created the federal regulations that we're talking about today. So what do you see in the future? What is going to happen with this, with the time and the cost that's going to go forward with this?
Mr. Chairman, Congressman, if I could answer that. I think we're looking at a point where it's difficult for a manager like me to plan projects and plan budgets as any other businessman does, when to run one project, a single well, which is kind of like building a house, takes a year or two to permit in some areas, or even longer. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to allocate my resources.
So
under
as
that
my
kind of
time is
environment.
running out, you're saying there's tremendous uncertainty, which makes it very difficult to make the kind of investments necessary to be productive.
Absolutely, Congressman.
Okay, thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.